The glare is the first thing that hits me, even before the wrongness of it. Sophia Chen. That's what the old flickering marquee of the Lincoln Theater declares to the bustling city street. Chen, not Chang. My stomach plummets, a sickening lurch that has nothing to do with opening night jitters. My hands, already slick with a nervous sweat, begin to tremble. The cheap, cloying scent of stage makeup, a bizarre mix of rose and old powder, suddenly feels suffocating. I can taste the metallic tang of adrenaline in my mouth. This isn't just a night, it's the night. Years. Years of relentless work, of auditions that went nowhere, of bit parts and chorus lines, all culminating in this. My first lead, my name in lights, except it isn't my name. Just a typo, Soph. Mark, our harried technical director, mutters, his eyes darting everywhere but at me. He smells faintly of stale coffee and desperation. The G probably just burnt out. Old system, you know? I know. I also know Emma, my understudy, the one who's been a little too eager, a little too present during my rehearsals. Her last name is Chen. A coincidence? My heart hammers against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the sudden, chilling silence in my head. The usual pre-show cacophony, the distant thud of set pieces moving, the muffled squawk of a stage manager's headset, the nervous laughter of the ensemble drifting from the dressing rooms, fades to a dull roar. The cold, smooth surface of the prop dagger I'm still clutching bites into my palm. This isn't a simple mistake. The air in the wings suddenly feels thick, charged with a tension that goes beyond typical opening night anxiety. It's the kind of electric hum that precedes a storm. I can almost hear the crackle of it against my skin. A burnt-out G wouldn't magically replace itself with an E and an N, Mark, I say, my voice dangerously quiet. My quiet power move. I don't raise my voice. I let the chilling implication hang in the air between us. He flinches, the scent of his fear now more potent than the coffee. He knows I'm right. Someone did this. Someone deliberately tried to erase me on the biggest night of my career. The theater, usually my sanctuary, feels alien. The familiar texture of the velvet curtain backstage, typically a comfort, now feels like a shroud. Each hushed conversation I overhear from castmates, the rustle of their period costumes, sounds like a whispered accusation. Is it pity? Or do they know something? The draft from the stage door carries the grimy scent of city rain and something else. Something acrid, like burnt sugar. My breath catches. This is sabotage, pure and simple. They're trying to steal this from me. The realization is a punch to the gut, leaving me winded, exposed. Places! Overture in 2! The stage manager's voice, usually a beacon of calm, cracks with static over the intercom. The vibrations of the orchestra tuning up resonate through the wooden floorboards beneath my thin satin slippers. It's a physical reminder that the show, this monstrous, beautiful machine, is about to grind into motion with or without my correct name. With or without me, if they had their way. I force myself to move, to walk towards the communal dressing room, a place usually buzzing with shared excitement. Tonight, the air is heavy with an unspoken question. The scent of hairspray and nervous sweat is overwhelming. My own reflection in the smudged mirror is a stranger. Eyes too wide, skin too pale beneath the carefully applied stage blush. My trembling hands hover over the makeup pots, the grease paint feeling like cold clay. This is what betrayal feels like, a cold knot tightening in my chest, the bitter taste of it coating my tongue. Then, through the grimy window that offers a sliver of a view of the street outside, I see it. The marquee lights flicker erratically, a spasm of electricity. One by one, the letters SOPHIA blink out, then flare back to life. The CHEN stutters, dies. My heart stops. For a breathless moment, the sign is dark where my name should be. And then, slowly, impossibly, new letters ignite. CHANG. My name, correctly spelled. Only my name. The rest of the marquee, the title of the play, the other featured actors, they remain unchanged, steadily glowing. Mark had said the system was ancient, incapable of such selective fixes. He'd said a single letter burning out was a big deal. This is impossible. A cold dread, colder than the initial shock of the misspelling, seeps into my bones. The metallic tang in my mouth intensifies, and the room suddenly smells of ozone, like a lightning strike. My feet move before my brain catches up, carrying me out of the buzzing confusion of the dressing room, away from the sympathetic, questioning glances of the other actors. The scent of their anxiety, a mix of fear and cheap perfume, propels me towards the narrow, dusty staircase leading to the tech booth. It's a forgotten corner of the Lincoln, smelling perpetually of hot wiring and old, decaying paper scripts from shows long dead and gone. The climb is steep, the wooden steps groaning under my weight, each creak an echo of the unease twisting in my gut. Mark is there, of course, hunched over the massive, archaic lighting board, its surface a constellation of faders and switches. He's not alone. A younger technician, someone I don't recognize, is with him, his face pale in the dim glow of the monitors. The air is thick with the hum of electronics and the faint, sharp smell of burnt dust. How? I ask, my voice cutting through the low thrum. I keep it steady, level. My quiet power move. I refuse to let them see me unravel. I need answers, not a meltdown. I glance at the small window in the booth, the one that overlooks the marquee. My name, Sophia Chang, shines brightly, correctly. The other lights on the sign seem dimmer in comparison. Mark jumps, whirling around. Sophia, what are you doing up here? You should be getting ready. His voice is too loud, too forced. The younger tech shrinks back, avoiding my gaze. He smells of stale cigarettes and fear. That's when I see it, a new laptop connected to the ancient Marquee control panel via a jury-rigged cable. Not so ancient after all, or at least someone's found a workaround. Someone fixed the sign, I state, not a question. Someone fixed only my name. The younger tech starts to stammer. It was a glitch. We rebooted the local interface for that section. A glitch that selectively corrected 6 letters while leaving the other 200 untouched? I raise an eyebrow. My gaze is unwavering. The scent of old wood and something vaguely chemical, like old cleaning fluid from the floorboards, seems to invade my nostrils. It's grounding in a strange way. I pull out my phone, its sleek coldness a contrast to the theater's pervasive dust, and discreetly hit record, angling it toward them from my pocket. He wouldn't expect it. No one ever expects the quiet ones to be recording. Mark finally sighs, the fight draining out of him. The smell of defeat clings to him. Look, Soph, it's complicated. Simplify it for me, I press, my tone still even. The young tech cracks. Someone called, offered cash, a lot of cash. Said there was a mistake on the marquee, your name. Gave me the correct spelling, told me to override the system, make the change, make it look like a power surge fixed it. He's sweating now, the small booth feeling suddenly very warm. The hum of the equipment seems louder, more oppressive. Who called? My voice is a silken thread in the charged air. Didn't say a name, he mumbles, staring at his shoes. Just a voice. Said it was on behalf of Miss Chen, to ensure Miss Chang got her proper credit eventually, but not to make it obvious it was an immediate, intentional fix right at the start. A delayed correction to make it look like the theater was on top of it, but only after the initial mistake had been seen. Miss Chen, Emma, my understudy. The pieces click into place, sharp and painful. A wave of nausea hits me, the earlier metallic taste returning with a vengeance. She wanted the world to see her name first, to plant the seed, then have mine corrected as if it were an afterthought, a theater fixing its own clumsy error. But the glitch that fixed only my name, and so quickly, that wasn't part of her plan, was it? The musty, cloying scent of the old velvet curtains hanging near the booth's entrance suddenly feels overwhelming. It triggers a memory, my grandmother, her hands gnarled with age but her eyes bright, telling me stories of our family. She'd always been vague about her own sister, who'd also been an actress. Some theaters are hungry, Sophia, she'd whispered, her voice like dry leaves rustling. They have old hurts, old hungers, and sometimes they remember. At the time, I'd dismissed it as old-world superstition, the ramblings of an aging woman. Now, standing in this cramped, shadowy booth, with the impossible glow of my name the only thing that seems truly real, her words feel chillingly prescient. Every shadow in the corners of the booth seems to pulse, to deepen. The air crackles with an unseen energy, making the hairs on my arms stand on end. The scent of ozone is back, stronger this time, and suddenly, with a sharp crackle and a flash of blue light from my pocket, my phone goes dead. The recording device. It shorts out. A tiny wisp of acrid smoke curls upwards. My heart seizes, but not before the last sound it captured, amidst the electronic sizzle, echoes in my ears, amplified by the sudden silence from the fried device. A laugh. A low, distinctive chuckle. I know that laugh. I'd heard it 1,000 times, full of warmth, encouragement, and a hint of mischief. It was the laugh of my mentor, Professor Armitage, the man who taught me everything I knew about the stage, who believed in me when no one else did, the man who died 2 years ago. The days following opening night are a blur of forced smiles and simmering anxiety. My name remains correct on the marquee, a small beacon of victory in a sea of unease. But the theater itself feels different, charged. The air is heavy, like before a thunderstorm, and the familiar scents of dust, grease paint, and old wood are now overlaid with something else. A faint, almost imperceptible floral note, like jasmine, that comes and goes like a whisper. It's a perfume my grandmother used to wear. The metallic taste of fear is a constant companion in the back of my throat. Strange accidents begin to plague the production. Props, meticulously placed by our stage manager, move on their own. A teacup, crucial for Act 2, slides off a table moments before an actor reaches for it, shattering on the stage. The sound of the breaking china echoes through the hushed theater, sharp and jarring. Our Polonius swears his carefully arranged scrolls were restacked in a different order overnight, the silken ribbons retied with an unfamiliar knot. Lights flicker during rehearsals, not in the dramatic, marquee-fixing way, but in subtle, unnerving patterns. A spotlight dims and brightens in a slow pulse. A gel pops with a startling bang, plunging a scene into sudden, brief darkness. The lighting board, Mark insists, checks out perfectly every time. He's losing sleep, the dark circles under his eyes are new, and he constantly smells of burnt coffee and stress. The cast whispers. They're actors. Drama is their lifeblood, but this is different. This isn't stage drama, it's something else. They talk about the Lincoln's dark history, the usual theater ghost stories. A figure seen in the upper balcony during a late-night set builds. Cold spots on the stage. The faint sound of a woman humming when the theater should be empty. The musty scent of the ancient stage curtains seems to carry their hushed words, amplifying them. I try to ignore it, to focus on my lines, on my performance, but the unsettling atmosphere is undeniable. It wraps around me like a cold, damp cloak. My quiet power move? I start my own investigation. Not into Emma Chen, her petty jealousy as a distraction, a symptom of something larger, I feel it. I investigate the theater. I spend my breaks in the Lincoln's dusty, forgotten archive room, a small chamber tucked away behind the boiler room. It smells of decaying paper, mildew, and time itself. The archivist, a man whose spectacles are as thick as his silence, barely acknowledges me. One afternoon, while sifting through old playbills, their paper brittle and yellowed, I strike up a conversation with Alistair, the elderly janitor. He's been at the Lincoln for over 60 years, a silent fixture, always sweeping in the shadows, his movements slow and deliberate. He smells of lemon polish and old tobacco. He's hesitant at first, his voice raspy from disuse. But as I speak of the strange occurrences, of the unease that grips the production, his eyes, rheumy and faded, sharpen with a flicker of recognition. He leads me to a grimy, locked door backstage, one I've passed 100 times without a second glance. The air around it is noticeably colder, the floral scent of jasmine more pronounced. "This was her dressing room," Alistair says, his voice a low murmur. He fumbles with a ring of ancient keys, the metal clinking softly in the silence. The lock groans in protest before finally giving way. Margaret Blackwood. The name hangs in the air, heavy and resonant. The door creaks open, releasing a stronger wave of jasmine and the scent of something else, something like dried roses and old, expensive face powder. Inside, the room is a time capsule. A dusty velvet chaise lounge, a dressing table littered with tarnished silver-backed brushes and pots of desiccated makeup. A beautiful, old-fashioned silk robe, the color of faded lavender, is draped over a chair as if its owner had just stepped away for a moment. The silence in here is profound, broken only by the faint drip of a leaky pipe somewhere in the walls. Died, she did, Alistair continues, his gaze fixed on the dusty room. 50 years ago, right here. Opening night of her big show. He pauses, and the weight of his next words settles heavily on my shoulders. Heart attack, they said. But there were whispers. Always whispers. He looks at me then, a deep, sorrowful look. Her name, they spelled it wrong on the marquee that night, too. Margaret Blakewood, with a K. The metallic taste of fear floods my mouth, nearly choking me. Blakewood. Blackwood. A single altered letter, just like Chen and Chang. My blood runs cold. My hand trembles as I reach out, my fingers brushing against the dusty silk of the robe. It feels impossibly soft, yet brittle, like a dried flower petal. Then I see it, lying on the dressing table, half hidden beneath a faded playbill, a small leather-bound diary. Its clasp is tarnished, the leather worn smooth with age. With a sense of trepidation that makes my heart pound, I pick it up. The leather is cool and smooth under my fingertips, yet it seems to pulse with a faint residual warmth. I open it carefully, the pages stiff and yellowed. The ink is faded, but the handwriting is surprisingly clear, elegant. And on the first page, a dedication. For Sophia, may you find the strength I lacked. My breath hitches. Sophia. My name. Written 50 years ago in a dead woman's diary. The scent of jasmine in the room intensifies, swirling around me like an invisible presence. The air grows colder still, and from somewhere deep within the theater, I hear a single, mournful note, as if from a cello, hang in the air before fading into an unnerving silence. The leather of Margaret Blackwood's diary feels strangely alive in my hands. The faint scent of jasmine and old paper, a tangible link to the past. I retreat to the quiet solitude of my own dressing room, the small, impersonal space, a stark contrast to the opulent, tragic grandeur of Margaret's. The sounds of the theater, the distant clang of a dropped tool, the muffled lines of rehearsing actors, feel a world away. My fingers, still trembling slightly, trace the faded gold embossing on the diary's cover. MB. Her entries are a revelation. They paint a vivid picture of a young woman, ambitious and talented, navigating the treacherous waters of the theater world in the 1970s. She writes of her triumphs, small roles that earned her notice, the thrill of applause, the scent of stage lights and anticipation. The dusty smell of old theater she describes as so familiar, it's like she's narrating my own experiences. But then, the tone shifts. She writes of slights, of opportunities inexplicably withdrawn, of promises broken. She describes the insidious prejudice she faced as an Asian actress in a predominantly white industry, the constant battle to be seen, to be valued. It's a narrative I know intimately, a story whispered in the wings for generations. The ink on the page seems to bleed with her frustration, her quiet determination. Then, a passage makes my blood run cold. They do not see us as individuals, she writes, her usually neat script becoming spikier, more agitated. To them, one yellow face is much like another. My cousin in San Francisco, Lily Chang, she tried for years, a voice like an angel, but they only ever saw her face. Chang, my grandmother's maiden name. Lily Chang was my grandmother. Margaret Blackwood, the ghost of the Lincoln Theater, was my great-aunt, erased from our family history just as her name was misspelled on that fateful marquee. My mother never spoke of her. My grandmother, only in those vague, superstitious warnings. The metallic tang of shock coats my tongue. The connection isn't just shared heritage or a similar career path. It's blood. The scent of jasmine, which I'd always associated with my grandmother, now takes on a new, poignant meaning. It was Margaret's scent first. My quiet power move. I don't break down. I don't scream. I sit there, the diary open in my lap, and I let the truth settle. Then, I begin to read with a new, fierce intensity. Margaret wasn't just a victim of circumstance, she was fighting back. Her later entries are filled with coded phrases, cryptic allusions to powerful figures in the theater. A council of shadows, she calls them. She writes of discovering a conspiracy, a deliberate effort by certain founding families of the Lincoln to steal roles, to siphon off credit, to build their own legacies on the backs of talented, often minority performers. The air in my dressing room grows colder. The faint hum of the building's ancient electricity seems to drop in pitch. I recognize some of the surnames she mentions, veiled as they are in her coded script. They are the names of current board members, pillars of the city's arts community, their families, patrons of the Lincoln for generations. The same families whose descendants now run this theater. The same families who approved my casting, who smiled so benignly at the first read-through, their perfume expensive, their handshakes firm. The scent of their expensive cologne, a memory now laced with poison, drifts through my mind. The floorboards of my dressing room creak, a sound like an old bone settling. The diary details how they'd offer opportunities, then subtly undermine the performers. A lost contract, a scheduling conflict, a sudden, unexplained illness before a major opening. Always deniable, always tragic. Just like Margaret's misspelled name, just like her sudden death. The pattern is chillingly familiar. The faint scent of lavender and dried roses from her dressing room seems to cling to the diary's pages, a ghostly perfume, and I reach the final pages. They are frantic, filled with a growing sense of dread. Margaret knew they were closing in on her. She writes of hiding her research, of creating a failsafe. They will not erase me completely, she vows. They will not win. The last entry is dated October 27th, 50 years ago, opening night, the night she died. But then, my blood turns to ice. Beneath her final, desperate scrawl, there's another entry. The ink is fresh, stark black against the yellowed page. The handwriting is eerily, terrifyingly familiar. It's identical to my own. And the date at the top of this impossible entry? Today's date. The entry reads, "They know you're close, Sophia. He's watching you. The show must go on, but not the one they've planned." The scent of jasmine, no longer faint, floods the room, so potent it's almost cloying. My heart hammers against my ribs, a trapped bird. The lights in my dressing room flicker once, twice, then hold steady. But the air feels thin, stretched taut, like the skin of a drum. The impossible diary entry burns in my mind. He's watching you. Who? Mark? One of the board members? The chill in my dressing room isn't just the old theater's draft anymore. It's the icy touch of a conspiracy that spans generations. The faint, sweet smell of jasmine is a constant, unsettling reminder of Margaret's presence, her warning. These board members, the descendants of Margaret's Council of Shadows, they aren't just patrons of the arts, they're gatekeepers of a deeply rotten legacy. They've been systematically erasing Asian performers for decades. My casting, I realized with a sickening lurch, wasn't a step towards diversity. It was a performance, a token, never meant to be permanent. Just like Margaret. Just like countless others whose names are now lost, their stories buried under the weight of the Lincoln's prestigious history. The musty smell of old files and forgotten dreams from the archive room seems to follow me everywhere. My quiet power move. I turn fear into fuel. Margaret's courage, her determination not to be erased, resonates within me. I start digging not just into the past, but into the present. Armed with the names from Margaret's diary, names that still carry weight in this city, I delve into the Lincoln Theater's financials. The theater recently received a hefty diversity grant, a celebrated mark of its supposed commitment to inclusion. But as I trace the funds, a pattern of misdirection emerges. Large sums allocated to community outreach programs that seem to exist only on paper, scholarships for minority students with no clear recipients. It smells like fraud, the acrid scent of cooked books and blatant hypocrisy. Every creak of the old theater's floorboards under my feet as I move through its labyrinthine backstage corridors seems to whisper the names of those forgotten performers, their talent stolen, their careers extinguished. Margaret's presence grows stronger, more palpable. It's not just the jasmine anymore. The temperature in certain parts of the theater drops inexplicably. During a scene change in the dark, I feel a cold breath on my neck, hear a faint sigh that isn't from any of the crew. Props don't just move, they arrange themselves into accusatory tableaus. One morning, the portrait of the theater's founder, a stern-faced patriarch whose family name is prominent in Margaret's diary, is found with a single, perfect tear seemingly painted onto its cheek. The next day, the tear is gone, but the eyes of the portrait seem to follow me. The rich, oily scent of old paint in the lobby feels heavier, more oppressive around that particular artwork. The pressure is mounting. Rehearsals are fraught with tension. My understudy, Emma Chen, watches me with a mixture of fear and something I can't quite decipher. Resentment? Guilt? She avoids my eyes, her movements jerky, her lines delivered with a brittle edge. The delicate floral perfume she wears can't mask the faint, sharp scent of her anxiety. One evening, after a particularly grueling rehearsal, where a crucial lighting cue for my solo inexplicably failed 3 times, plunging me into darkness, I find Emma in her dressing room. She's crying, her carefully constructed composure shattered. The room smells of her tears and the stale, powdery scent of cheap makeup. "They made me do it, Sophia," she whispers, her voice choked. "The Marquee, they threatened me." "Threatened you how?" I keep my voice calm, even as my heart aches for her, for the fear in her eyes. The air between us is thick with her distress, the scent of her cheap perfume now a sad, defeated smell. "My father, he has gambling debts, they know. They said they'd help him, clear his record, if I played along. If I was ready to step in when you faltered." Her eyes are wide, haunted. "They said it was just how things were done here, that you were never meant to last the whole run." The cold, hard confirmation of my suspicions settles in my stomach like a stone. They weren't just going to discredit me. They were actively working to replace me, to ensure the cycle continued. The name Chen on the marquee wasn't just a random understudy's name, it was a signal, a message to those in the know. The conspiracy is alive and well, and I'm its latest target. A sudden gust of wind slams the dressing room door shut, though there are no open windows. The lights flicker violently, and for a moment, the room is plunged into icy darkness. Emma screams. When the lights stutter back on, a single word is traced in the dust on her dressing room mirror. Enough. The scent of jasmine is overpowering. Emma's confession hangs heavy in the air, thick with the scent of her fear and the ghostly aroma of jasmine. "My grandmother," she says, her voice barely a whisper. "She was a dancer. Mei Lin. She performed here at the Lincoln back in the 80s. They promised her a solo tour, a real career." Her eyes are fixed on a point beyond the dusty mirror, lost in a painful memory. The room is cold, the silence broken only by her ragged breathing and the distant, mournful hum of the theater's ancient ventilation system. "What happened to her?" I ask gently, though I already suspect the answer. The cloying sweetness of her cheap perfume mixes with the stale, powdery scent of the dressing room, a sad, olfactory testament to broken dreams. One night, just before her big showcase, she fell. A freak accident on the backstage stairs. Broke her leg in 3 places. Emma's voice trembles. She always said someone pushed her, but no one believed her. Her career was over before it even began. They replaced her with a white dancer, someone with broader appeal, they said. She finally looks at me, her eyes shining with unshed tears and a dawning understanding. "They're still doing it, aren't they? To us." The pattern is undeniable, a tapestry woven with stolen opportunities and silenced voices, spanning generations. Talented Asian performers lured by the Lincoln's prestige, used for appearances, then systematically undermined, their narratives controlled, their legacies erased. The musty scent of the theater, of its history, suddenly feels suffocating, like the weight of all those buried stories pressing down on us. My quiet power move. I don't just offer sympathy, I offer solidarity. "We're not going to let them win, Emma," I say, my voice firm, imbued with a resolve I didn't know I possessed. "Not this time." Together we delve deeper. Emma's fear, now channeled into a quiet fury, makes her a meticulous researcher. She remembers names her grandmother mentioned, fragments of stories. We cross-reference them with Margaret's diary, with the theater's own patchy, sanitized archives. We find more. A singer whose voice mysteriously failed before a career-making audition. A playwright whose brilliant script was lost by the theater, only to reappear years later, significantly altered and credited to a member of the founder's family. The scent of old paper and heartbreak seems to emanate from every document we uncover. I reach out. Using the information we've gathered, the network of names, I start contacting other descendants, other families who were touched by the Lincoln's shadow. It's slow, painstaking work. Some are afraid to speak. Some don't want to reopen old wounds. But others are angry. They've heard the whispers, lived with the unexplained silences in their family histories. A quiet network begins to form, a coalition of the forgotten, all seeking justice, seeking to reclaim their stolen narratives. The metallic tang of determination is in my mouth now, replacing the fear. As our alliance grows, so does the theater's restlessness. The sound of phantom applause echoes through the empty hallways during late-night research sessions. It's faint at first, like the rustle of leaves, then grows stronger, more insistent, as if an unseen audience is gathering, waiting. The scent of jasmine is no longer confined to Margaret's dressing room. It drifts through the entire backstage area, a ghostly signature. One evening, as Emma and I are poring over an old financial ledger in the archive room, the air thick with the smell of dust and decaying leather, the lights flicker violently. When they steady, we see it. The grand portrait of Thaddeus Blackwood, the theater's founder, the patriarch of the Council of Shadows, which hangs in the main lobby. We'd seen it earlier on the security feed we managed to tap into. Now, on the monitor, dark, viscous trails are trickling from its painted eyes like tears of blood. The security cameras, which we've been carefully monitoring, capture fleeting images in the darkened auditorium. Shadowy figures in seats that should be empty. A woman in a lavender dress gliding across the stage when no one is there. Margaret is growing restless. She's gathering her own audience. Opening night looms. A ticking clock counting down to something. Justice? Or history repeating itself. The theater is a live wire, crackling with an almost unbearable tension. Margaret's spirit is no longer a subtle presence. She's a force. The scent of jasmine is a constant, sometimes delicate, sometimes overwhelmingly strong, a fragrant storm brewing. It's clear now, she's not seeking revenge in the way I first feared. She's trying to prevent what happened to her from happening to me, to us. The musty smell of old velvet and decaying wood in the theater seems to vibrate with her urgency. The supernatural events escalate, becoming more overt, more focused. Scripts left on the prop table rewrite themselves overnight. My lines remain, but the stage directions shift, adding movements and gestures that feel familiar. When I perform them, a chill runs down my spine. It's as if another body, another muscle memory is guiding me. Costumes transform. A simple shawl I meant to wear in Act 3 is found intricately embroidered with a motif of a phoenix rising from ashes, a detail not in any design sketch. The seamstress, her face pale, the scent of her nervous perspiration sharp in the air, swears she didn't do it. Cast members begin to experience visions. Our leading man, during a tense scene with me, blanches and stumbles back, claiming he saw my face morph, just for a second, into that of another woman, an Asian woman with haunted eyes, and an expression of profound sorrow. He smells faintly of the brandy he now keeps in his dressing room. Another actress breaks down in tears, describing a vivid dream of the theater 50 years ago. The panic. The whispers, the wrong name on the marquee. The air backstage is thick with their fear, the scent of their sweat and stage makeup mingling with the ever-present jasmine. My quiet power move? I stop fighting the inexplicable. I start listening. I realize Margaret is trying to communicate, to guide me. Remembering the flickering marquee, the way my name was corrected, I think of the theater's old lighting system, the massive, archaic board in the tech booth. I spend hours alone on the stage after rehearsals, the vast, empty auditorium stretching before me, smelling of dust and silence. I speak to her, my voice echoing in the darkness. "Margaret, what are you trying to tell me?" And the lights respond. A single follow spot flickers once, then twice, then a pause, then 3 times. Morse code. SOS. No, not SOS. She's spelling something. Slowly, painstakingly, I work it out. A new language forged in light and shadow. The acrid smell of overworked electrical circuits, a faint burning scent, begins to permeate the air around the lighting rig. a testament to the strain on the ancient system. The metal of the lighting fixtures feels warm to the touch, even when they're off. She guides me, flicker by flicker, to inconsistencies in old production photos, to hidden compartments in the theater's original architectural plans stored in the archive. She's showing me where to look, what to find. The fear that once gripped me is transforming into a strange, exhilarating partnership with the unseen. The dress rehearsal arrives. The theater is filled with a smattering of invited press, donors, and board members. The descendants of Margaret's tormentors, their faces impassive, their expensive perfumes and colognes a cloying miasma in the front rows. The atmosphere is electric, the air almost buzzing. The scent of jasmine is a defiant counterpoint to their manufactured opulence. We reach my pivotal monologue in Act 3 the moment my character confronts her accusers. The stage lights are hot on my face, the familiar smell of heated gels and dust filling my nostrils. I open my mouth to speak the lines I've rehearsed 100 times, but the voice that emerges is not my own. It's deeper, richer, laced with an elegant, old-fashioned cadence and an undercurrent of profound sorrow and steely determination. The words are Margaret's, describing her betrayal, her fight, her refusal to be silenced. The cast around me freezes, their faces masks of shock. I can feel a presence within me, a gentle but powerful energy co-opting my voice, my body. My hands move, my gestures are hers, and then, in that borrowed voice, I speak a sentence that makes the board members in the front row visibly recoil, their composure cracking. The proof of their crimes lies not in memory alone, but beneath the loose floorboard fourth row, stage left, in the orchestra pit. The stage lights flare, blindingly bright, and the acrid smell of burning electricity is suddenly, terrifyingly strong. Then, plunging the stage into absolute darkness. The darkness on stage is absolute. A void thick with the sharp, metallic scent of ozone and the lingering perfume of jasmine. A collective gasp ripples through the auditorium. Emergency lights flicker on, casting long, eerie shadows. Stagehands are scrambling, their hushed, urgent voices cutting through the stunned silence. But I'm not panicking. Guided by an instinct that isn't entirely my own, I move towards the orchestra pit, the edge of the stage a familiar boundary, even in the dimness. The texture of the old, slightly sticky stage floor beneath my feet is a grounding sensation. Alistair, the old janitor, materializes from the wings, a heavy crowbar in his gnarled hands. He gives me a single knowing nod, his face grim but resolute. He smells of dust and determination. He understood. As stagehands work frantically to restore power, Alistair, Emma, and I descend into the pit. Fourth row, stage left. The floorboards are old, warped. The air down here is cool and damp, smelling of mildew and forgotten things. Alistair finds the loose board almost immediately. With a groan of protesting wood, it comes up. Beneath it, nestled in the dirt and grime, is a small tin box, surprisingly well preserved. It's cold to the touch. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, are Margaret's documents. Copies of original contracts with altered names, letters detailing the conspiracy, and meticulously kept records of the theater's finances from that era, showing the siphoning of funds, the enrichment of the founding families at the expense of performers like her. And tucked within it, a newer, smaller ledger detailing the fraudulent diversity grant applications, the ghost payments. Someone, perhaps a guilt-ridden accomplice or another victim, had continued Margaret's work. This is it, the concrete proof. The musty scent of the old paper is the smell of vindication. Opening night, the real opening night. The theater is packed. Critics, donors, the city's elite, and the board members, looking even more smug and self-assured than at the dress rehearsal. They believe the technical difficulties have been resolved, the hysterical actress, me, brought back in line. They have no idea what's coming. The air backstage is electric, but this time it's our electricity. Emma is by my side, her earlier fear replaced by a calm resolve. Her simple, clean scent of soap is a comfort. The network of descendants we contacted are in the audience, scattered, waiting. My quiet power move. I've worked with Mark, who, riddled with guilt and now fiercely loyal after I showed him some of Margaret's proof, has helped me rig the theater's projection and sound systems. The show begins as planned. The first act unfolds, the familiar beats, the rehearsed lines. But as we approach the end of Act 1, The moment of my character's supposed downfall, the stage lights shift, bathe me in a single pure white follow spot. The scent of jasmine, subtle but definite, wafts from the wings. Instead of my scripted lines of despair, I look directly at the audience, at the board members. Tonight, I say, my voice clear and strong, amplified by the theater's own microphone system, we tell a different story, a true story. The projections flare to life on the cyclorama behind me. Margaret's face, young and vibrant, then her name, Margaret Blackwood, correctly spelled. Then, images of the documents from the tin box, highlighted, explained. Scanned letters, forged signatures, damning financial statements. The theater's sound system, instead of the score, plays excerpts from Margaret's diary, read in a voice eerily like mine, yet with her cadence. The board members are squirming, their faces paling. The scent of their expensive, cloying perfumes suddenly seems pathetic. Whispers turn into murmurs, then into outraged cries from the audience as the truth unfolds. Margaret's spirit is with me, a warm, steady presence. I feel her pride, her relief. As the exposé continues, lights around the theater begin to flicker in complex patterns. Margaret's Morse code, spelling out the names of other victims, other stolen legacies. Names appear on the screens, one after another. The theater's ancient systems are working for us, for her. The warm, sweet scent of jasmine fills the entire auditorium, a comforting blanket, a declaration of presence. There's no acrid smell of burning circuits tonight. The energy flows smoothly, purposefully. The finale is not the play's scripted ending, but the arrival of city officials alerted by our network, armed with the evidence we provided. The board members are escorted out, their faces masks of disbelief and fury. The audience erupts, not just in applause for a performance, but in a roar of support for justice. Later, after the chaos has subsided, after the press conferences and the tearful thanks from the descendants, I stand alone on the stage. The house lights are dim, the theater quiet, except for the settling creaks of an old building. The scent of jasmine is soft now, peaceful. I walk outside. The night air is cool and clean. And there on the marquee, in blazing, triumphant lights, Sophia Chang. My name. Correct. And beneath it, for just a moment, visible only to me it seems, the lights shift, and a new list of names scrolls by. Margaret Blackwood, Mei Lin, and dozens of others, their legacies finally acknowledged, their stories finally told. Margaret's spirit, I know, is at peace. The Lincoln Theater, once a place of shadows and stolen dreams, now feels cleansed. And as I look up at my name, I feel not just the triumph of this night, but the weight and honor of all the names that flicker alongside mine, seen or unseen. A constellation of talent finally allowed to shine. The warm scent of jasmine, a final gentle goodbye, drifts on the night breeze.